Get your pen and paper ready. It's time for another edition of The Flex. The absolute best fantasy football podcast in existence.
So I'll say this, not to say that I disagree, but...
I disagree.
Oh, my God.
Presented by Broadway Sports.
Welcome in, all you fantasy football truthers. We have another informative episode of The Flex. Quick note before we start, we are down one tonight as our own Bob Greenlaw is off on vacation, off gallivanting in the foothills of North Ireland. He did want to shout out, and thank Craig Wiley, otherwise known as Derrick Henry's burner at Casual Titan Fan 3, for winning the DGB autograph last week. But upon further review, we might have to ask for that back, as he might need to get shot into the sun for all his IDP and Week 17 championship questions when we were trying to get some serious fantasy questions this week. So, but thanks for listening, and that's the benefit of listening to every little word. It was a joke. Greenlaw stuck to his word, gave it to the first person who asked. So that's why you watch the show, listen to the show, and pay attention.
You never know what ex-Titan autograph you're going to win.
I was going to say what part of Greenlaw's house he's going to give away. I mean, he's not here, so I mean, we just give away his basement at some point in time, maybe.
I don't know if I'm pointing to the right spot, but I think his basement looks a little like right there.
Yep.
An interesting angle we got tonight.
Oh, we missed you, Greenlaw, but we're going to try to get through this without you.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. So maybe I'll get his Twitter handle right tonight when he's not here.
I just hope that he has such a good vacation that he somehow finds that life he's been looking for.
Sure.
Does he keep coming to see you at the life store, JG?
You know,
I don't think JG got that one.
I don't think he did either. How confused are you tonight?
I'm not. Stop it. I'm ready to answer some questions.
This is truly going to be a good episode tonight.
This is
I
truly
see what you did there.
Off to a great start.
Yeah.
Contact me truly, Zach at BroadwaySportsMedia.com.
Thank you. Nice plug. Here's the thing, though. We will get to the questions in a little bit. Simmer down. There is some news, some things that have happened in the world that affects fantasy football that happened between our last show and this show, going through some things. One of which is the COVID deadline passed, and no real big notable names, but just wanted to see if y'all had any opinions about who did opt out for COVID and what you were wanting to stay away from, or anything that was a big red flag to you, or anything that you went, okay, now I need to pay attention to this player just in case.
Did we talk about Damien Williams? I don't think we did. Did we?
Did we? I think we talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire being a freaking...
We did, but I don't know if we talked about Damien Williams opting out. I feel like we did. Now I'm kind of feeling like we did. Either way,
here's the thing.
That was the most notable one. Right? I mean, for fantasy football purposes, that was it.
What offensive lineman opted out? So we got the center for the Patriots. That seems pretty big.
Nate Solder for the Giants.
Nate Solder, some backup guy for the Bengals.
And then a guy for the Buccaneers did too. I think maybe two guys for Buccaneers.
Am I making that up?
Lamar Dotson, but he got signed by someone. He got cut, but the Brad Seaton, that's who it was.
Oh, former Titan?
What? Was
former
he?
Titan, Brad Seaton, tackle?
Sure.
Like the 7-foot tackle guy?
No. Yes? No.
I don't know. Watch the YouTube version for the whatever the accurate.
I love the mental Olympics that Zach was going through right there.
I don't think was his name Brad Seaton?
Yes.
I don't know. Let's get off this topic. COVID sucks. It's ruined everything except for football. Football
it hasn't ruined fantasy football at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Still looks like NFL's going to move forward, so that's good. The other one was Derrius Guice was arrested and released by Washington football team.
Good job.
Thank you. And how does that affect, just off the top of your minds, how does that affect the Washington football team backfield?
Nice.
I would say that Antonio Gibson, I think, was going around the 13th round. Last I had written an article. And I think that if you don't take a chance on Antonio Gibson by, I'd say he's moved up at least to top 10, first 10 rounds.
He is currently 154, RB 51.
Damn, still?
Has
Is that
there been enough
PPR?
time to process that though with all the resets? I mean, I don't know how.
I don't know how much this. I don't know how frequently or how much weight it gives to recent.
Well, I know
fantasy
he
pros.
was 13th round in PPR. But
fantasy pros current
yeah,
PPR.
he should definitely be on the radar because they can say that they're going to give it all to Antonio Peterson, but Antonio Peterson can't
Adrian.
catch. Whatever. He doesn't matter. He's old. Fuck him. Adrian Peterson. Antonio Gibson, though.
Right.
Not Adrian
What
Gibson.
about Peyton Barber, who kept Ronald Jones
I
off
knew
the
you were going to
field?
mention Peyton Barber because we're going to talk about Ronald Jones in a few minutes. No.
Spoiler.
No,
Yeah.
No,
The
it's
problem
a
for me is that all of them are a no, because who the heck's getting the carries? I mean, I guess like for where
Gibson.
they're going, it doesn't
Gibson's gonna
matter.
get the touches.
Yeah, if you want to draft one of these guys, it's like, who cares? This is a throwaway draft pick where you just take flyers on guys that you have random personal beliefs in or little tidbits of knowledge that you think are going to pay off. Like, if you want to take Antonio Gibson in the 14th, 15th round, go for it. Why not, you know? I'm probably staying away just because I don't have any faith in Washington's offense to be good at all, so that doesn't mean that to me, that means it's going to be hard for one running back to emerge as someone good. So I'm just like, no thanks. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me that Guice. I didn't want Guice. I didn't want anybody else, and I still feel that way.
That's a situation where, in a little foreshadowing here, when you get the coach speak involved, where this is our guy, this is our starter, that's a backfield I'm staying away from, or I'm at least wanting to see some evidence of before I make any decisions. I'm definitely not looking to draft any of them unless I am absolutely desperate and one of them just happens to be there and I need a running back, because I don't trust that at all. I don't like it at all, and I'll be honest with you. Who knows? Maybe they try to force Adrian Peterson and say, let's just he's old, whatever. We're just going to give him as many touches as we can until he breaks.
Yeah, and honestly, like, this is a situation you can monitor after week 1, week 2, and see how the carry distribution unfolds and how Washington's offense looks. And if they are giving it to one guy and you can pick him up off waivers, you know, after week 1 or 2, then go for it. But, you know, it's something you can probably, you might be able to pick up a Washington running back for your random bye week in week 8.
If Antonio Gibson is not being drafted in your league, then you're in a league full of stupid fucking idiots, because I'm telling you, they have very limited playmakers they can give the ball to. They have Terry McLaurin,
Memphis bias.
Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson can catch the ball. He's a Swiss Army knife. He is going to have an impact on this offense. Draft him in those teen rounds. And especially if you're in PPR, just don't let him go undrafted, because you're not guaranteed the waiver.
Look, I like Antonio Gibson. I liked him on draft day. He was a guy that I was hoping the Titans would possibly target late. I love that they got Evans instead. I mean, it's one of those things where I liked both those guys coming out of college. So Zach, since you're a little, sounds like you might be a little higher on Gibson as far as fantasy value for this year. Doesn't mean I think any less of him as a player. What he has could be in the future. What is too high to draft him? When should people stay away from until?
Truly, Zach at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. There's obviously the, first round is obviously too high, right? But if we're talking realistically, like in my league, I have a lot of high round picks, right? In one of the leagues I'm in. And so for me to get Antonio Gibson, I would probably have to draft him in the 9th round, because that's one of my lowest picks in that draft. It's a little bit of a humble brag. And I would be willing to do it because the rest of my roster is already filled up by that point. So I would say that I think a too high normally in a draft, if you were just going pick by pick by pick every round, 10th round is probably a little too high, but I don't know.
That's your borderline.
9th round. Let's say 9th round is too high.
So double digits
is truly too high. Zach at Broadway Sports Media.
Can you for the YouTube? Can you do a truly counter by the end of this just for this episode? Like a little running tally somewhere every time.
Okay, sure.
You do not have to do that. I just an idea live. Here we go.
No, it'd be fun.
If you want a sponsor, you'll truly do it.
Honestly, I think that if you end up drafting Antonio Gibson in the 9th or 10th round, you might have to claw your way back from some pretty difficult matchups, because that's too high. Like 12th, 13th, 14th, he should still be there. 10th round, come on.
It sounds like to me you'll have to seltzer this argument, Ryan.
I don't even know what you mean.
Settle. That is a stretch. It
Okay.
truly
All right.
was a stretch.
All right. You idiot.
All right. Anyway,
All right.
Ronald
So moving
Jones
on to the
something?
next big thing, the Patriots also signed Lamar Miller, blast from the AFC South past. How does that go into affecting the Patriots backfield? Because everyone was saying it was Damien Williams' show and it was going to be James White. What's going on there now?
It truly, okay, this is the last one. It truly is a mess. Zach at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Anyway, it's awful. First off, I'm out on any Patriots running back anymore. I've gone the Sony Michel route these last 2 years. It doesn't work. They're unreliable to have as starters until someone gets injured in that backfield. You have James White, Damian Harris, Lamar Miller, Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead. And I'm sure there's some other fucking random undrafted free agent running back that we don't even know about that's going to start seeing carries by like week 6 on some game plan, whoever they play on week 6. They're like, oh, we should really start Jimmy, that guy. And he'll get like 100 yards or whatever, and then you'll never see Jimmy, that guy, ever again. Stay away from him. Just let someone else draft him. Now, if you're in a PPR or a standard league and you see Lamar Miller or Sony Michel there at, round 12, round 13, and your last 2 picks are reserved for kicker and a defense, yeah, I'd go. Just don't expect anything from them. They are like a last resort kind of play.
I have a different opinion.
Adonis.
Or as I more famously once said, I disagree. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I like James White. I feel like he's currently going as RB30. And I think that he will definitely finish as higher than RB30.
Ooh, higher than RB30?
Higher than RB30. What, am I hearing doubt? Look.
You're hearing a little doubt over here.
So,
hold on.
Graham Barfield.
I truly think it's a bad idea.
If anyone knows who Graham Barfield is, at Graham Barfield on Twitter, he owns Fantasy Points or whatever that's a site, I guess. He tweeted out a little interesting little nugget that James White has finished as a PPR RB2 or better. That means a top 24 weekly scorer. So on a weekly basis, 71% of his games over the last 2 years, he has finished as RB24 or better. I think that at RB30, someone who's finishing over 71% of his games as an RB24 or better is someone you can bet on to be an RB30 who you're not going to play every week, but you can put him in at RB2. You can put him in at flex if you're dealing with injuries, if you go receiver heavy. Nice one.
Oh, good.
If you go receiver heavy earlier in the draft and you're looking for an RB2 or that zero RB strategy, I personally don't favor that strategy this year, but I think you can do a lot worse than James White at 77 overall, 7th round pick. Like, that's where you're adding your 3rd RB or 4th RB. Like, give me him there all day.
So that's some good points here. And I think I read also that the people are making some correlations between not saying that James White and Christian McCaffrey are the same player, but they are similar in their skill sets as far as what they do out of the backfield and what they can do. And people are already making that connection of Cam Newton. He's used to having the Christian McCaffrey. James White's going to play a similar position. He's the one that fits that mold out of all those 700 running backs that are in that backfield. But I still think that's a threat because this is one of the things where you have to take other things into consideration, like 7 of their offensive linemen opting out or whatever it is, and then like the whole defense opting out. This isn't going to be, an easy road for the Patriots this year. And then who knows if it's going to be Cam Newton really starting, if he's going to stay healthy. So there's a lot of questions there. But I do see that it's at least interesting to keep track of. But I think the main thing I heard here is there was a little disagreement between the two of you between how James White is going to finish the year.
Yeah, I am going to say that Justin is wrong. I just don't think he's gonna make it.
So you want to bet on it?
Put it in the wall.
This is an official. Oh, the sound. Okay, I guess that means there's no take backs. There's
No
no.
take backsies.
You got it.
Oh. So
RB
if
30
you want to
or
clarify,
higher.
if you want to clarify the bet, what I heard was an actual positional number at RB 30. He's going to finish higher than 30, so he has to. So
Is
basically,
that total points or average points?
PPR, no, he's not going to be running back 30. What else do you want
Okay.
from me?
Total points. Got it.
Okay.
We good.
All right, so we're locking that in.
Lock it in.
Logging
baby.
it in.
Throw it in another brick in the wall, baby.
Yeah, we'll find some other sound effects later for that, but that's what we got for now. Deal with it.
Cash it in the brick.
The bank brick vault.
That'll
of
give us something
bricks.
to talk about as we go along. Keep track of that. Really pay attention. Something else you have to pay attention to throughout a season is something that I think we refer to as coach speak. And what that means is that you'll have a coach make a statement of, this is our guy, right? We're going to go with this guy. And how many times have I been burned by saying, coach said so-and-so is going to be his lead back. And then he gets 3 carries in the first half. And you're like, what the hell? I could have started this other guy who scored 20 points. And I would have won my game. So it's kind of one of those things you have to understand that sometimes coach speak is to throw off the other defense. They're not here for your fantasy value. They're not here for your fantasy life. They're here to win football games. So sometimes when you hear things like that, you've got to take into consideration, is it coach speak? Are they just trying to throw people off? And who knows, if they get into the game, they could mean it. And then the flow's just off. It's
Or-
always one of those situations.
It could
Go
be that they're trying to motivate a player on their team, or start a little competition in a position group, or
Sure.
make a hint to, or it doesn't necessarily have to be about throwing off an opponent, but yeah, I mean, whatever it is, there could be a lot of reasons a coach is saying something he's saying.
So I've got a few situations here. You kind of have to read through the lines, I guess, is what you're, read between the lines, of what you're saying. So I've got a few things here of what's come out. Like Frank Reich came out and said that Marlon Mack is his lead back, and we can get into that if you want to. But how do we feel about that, considering what the Colts backfield has looked over the past couple of years?
It's just like the Patriots backfield. No, thank you. I mean, he could be the lead back all he wants, but that's not, and that may help you in fantasy because Marlon Mack's value is so low, but you can't trust it. Even if the value is there, it's something you can't really trust, I feel like.
He also said they're going to go with the hot hand. So, what does that mean? Marlon
That's my
Mack's the
point.
lead back now, but the hot hand could be anybody. It could be Jordan
That's my point.
Wilkins or whoever that guy was that ripped off a 50-yard run against the Titans.
Like that, then Hard Knocks when they're talking about the quarterbacks and Tyrod's going to start the season, but if you definitely heard in there, it was little things like there was no he's our guy, we're going to go with him. There was nothing like that. It was like, well, we're sure Herbert will get some plays and then he'll start working in. So there's no confidence there. I don't have any confidence in that position at this point in time. So the same thing with running backs. If you have one comment saying lead back, but then we're going to go with hot hand, well, that's not your lead back to me. Not officially. That's not the guy you're going to go with. He doesn't get chances. He's on a short leash is what that tells me. So you have to kind of read the whole quote, see everything. So
What it tells me is
can't
that
trust it.
Yeah. What it tells me is that Frank Reich is just answering a question to the media and not really giving much thought about how it actually affects his team, but more about how the media can be satisfied with his answer.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the fantasy football world, and you believe that from someone that Marlon Mack is not anybody really he's not someone that you can really rally a whole team around, right? He's not Derrick Henry.
Right.
which is funny considering what
Derrick
Colts fans
Henry's
were saying
team,
about
right? It's
Marlon Mack
Nick
last year.
Chubb's team. There's nobody breathing down their neck, even though you
Right.
can make things about Kareem Hunt. Save it. But, he's not a generational talent, this Marlon Mack. So I personally would not be worried about it. I'm not going to let Frank Reich try to convince me that Marlon Mack is something that he isn't.
Right. And also the fact that he went with the hot hand thing at the end is he's just talking out both sides. He's saying both things. So
Yeah.
if one of them is true, then they're both that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah, it's a double negative to me. They cancel each other out. It's just, I don't like it. And something else I don't like is Adam Gase and his Le'Veon Bell comments, where he said that he plans to use him more effectively. Says he tried to get him going early last year, did a bad job early in the season. Le'Veon also promises this is going to be his best season, but I have to kind of dissect what Gase is saying. First of all, I don't really like anything that guy says ever right now. He hasn't proved to me that he can win outside of his special situations in the NFL. I don't know why he keeps getting jobs, but here we are. And let's just dive into that statement real quick, is that he plans to use him more effectively. Not that he plans to feed him or give him the lion's share of the carries, more effectively, which could easily mean use a lot, spreading him out, using him in special situations, hot hand type situation, those kind of things, instead of just forcing the issue with him, so again, and it could mean completely opposite. But unfortunately, the way he phrased it, and going back and saying we tried to give him the ball too early last year, that kind of stuff, kind of scares me away and doesn't want me to, not that I was ever going to look into drafting Bell with the Jets anyway, but now it's even another red flag for me.
Yeah, and he also said that they want to try to run 60 to 80 plays per game. Like, no shit, every coach wants to run 60 to 80 plays per game. That's like, if you run 80 plays in a game, you probably controlled the whole game and won easily. Like,
I want a golden toilet, and here we are.
Yeah, that's not like, because last year the Jets were, I think they were actually like 10th in the league or so, like 59 plays per game. I'm not sure about that. Correction will be on the YouTube vid. But yeah, I mean, it's like, of course you want to run more plays. Of course you want the running back that you're paying $17 million or whatever to get more effective touches. Like, whatever, Adam Gase. This isn't affecting my fantasy football stock or anything.
I think it should. And here's why. Because he was poorly mismanaged last year. And it's typical with Adam Gase. You know, he tries to think that he's smarter than everybody else. But when you look at the opportunities that he provided Le'Veon, they're not that great compared to what he got in Pittsburgh. You're talking about a guy that in Pittsburgh got targets of 66 his rookie year, then 105, and then he got injured in 2015, so he only got 26, then 94, then 106, and then 78 in a fully healthy 15-game season here. And then the carries aren't that great either. I mean, to me, I think that's what he's talking about, is that, yeah, Frank Gore's there. You know, Frank Gore's kind of like fantasy kryptonite, it feels like. You never know what's going to happen. But I feel like he's going to try and get him more involved in the passing game. Right now, this is a buy low, sell high kind of candidate. And I'm kind of all in on some Le'Veon Bell in the 4th and 5th round, that's a little lower than what he's going, technically by ADP, but I think that if you're in a smart fantasy league, I think that is where he will fall. And I think that, you know, scoop him up. I mean, he still finished, I know not in a per game average because he finished 19th on the per game average, but he finished 16th, right?
Yeah.
No, 13th.
Yeah.
Was it 13th?
No,
16th?
16. Yeah.
And then dropped to 19th, only dropped 3 spots. I felt like it's more. Anyways,
Yeah.
16th in just total points for. And so, I don't know. I think there's some motivation there. I think, you know, he's the most talented. Again, kind of like Antonio Gibson, he's one of the more talented people on that team. And I think they're going to use him more in the passing game, which they clearly did not last year.
Yeah, I mean, he is going right now ADP-wise at RB 18. Do I think that Le'Veon Bell will finish higher than that? Most likely. But I think it will come in one of those, like, seasons where most weeks he disappoints you and then he scores, like, 3 touchdowns in a game a couple times. And his
When he's on your
season
bench.
is... Yeah, exactly. And his entire season point total is buoyed by these insane good games, but you never started him because he was bad mostly. He's just not he's a guy that, because he plays for the Jets, nothing to do with Bell as a player. It's just like, I am just out on the Jets from an offensive consistency basis. They're the type of team that could lose 30-3 any given week and have like no offense to speak for, you know, just because they're bad. I don't know. I'm out on the Jets.
Yeah, his potential to have those kind of high peaks and valleys reminds me of Will Fuller, which is why I'm staying away from him too.
Get out of here.
I don't know. I think that you'll see I think he's a high floor, way high ceiling kind of guy. Like, I think his floor is still like, I don't know, like 60 points and touchdown, which is about 12 points, right? I mean, 60 yards.
60 yards. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I knew what you meant, even though you didn't.
Yeah.
Speak it well.
But that's still 12 points. I think that his floor is still double-digit points. He just may not get you that 20 every week. And to me, that's what you're looking for in an RB2 or someone in the flex.
I will say if your draft does take you down a road where you end up not drafting 2 running backs early, you could probably do a lot worse than Le'Veon Bell in this.
And let me say this. Speaking of the New York Jets, Joe Namath was known as Broadway Joe. And we are a part of BroadwaySportsMedia.com. And right now, it is $9.99 for an all-inclusive membership. That's BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Go sign up. We have soccer. We have hockey. If you're Rex Green, you hate both of those sports. But that's okay if you hate both of those sports because we have football. Football's coming. Fantasy football. Me and Justin writing articles. Easily accessible. You can see them everywhere. Then you have Ryan is going to be taking his knowledge as an all-world defensive line, offensive line coach and putting it, and we're calling it In the Trenches, I believe, and he's going to preview and review the Titans offensive line, the Titans defensive line, and their opponents. And that's coming. And let me tell you something. Those previews are very important for fantasy football because your offensive line's blocking, and you want to know, do they buy enough time? What do they do right? What are they doing wrong? Run game, is it good? I don't know. Ryan will tell you. Anyway, $9.99. We got it. Everything you want. Fantasy football, Titans, Nashville Soccer, Nashville Predators, pop culture, Hard Knocks. I don't know. I'll probably say some shit.
Did you even mention the 7-day free trial?
Oh, is a 7-day free trial, which, to be honest, in my opinion, too long because it's too good. If you are using the full 7 days and not paying after day one, there's something wrong with you. You're just trying to game the system and trying to put it off. It's going to happen. It's like when you're dating that girl and you don't want to call her, your girlfriend in front of your friends too early, but everybody around you knows that she's the one. This is what it is. It's time. Come on, come home. Come home to us. Come home to Broadway.
Nice.
Well, thank you for that infomercial, Zach. That was very well done. Very well said.
Thank you.
And
it happened organically.
Yeah. I'm glad it happened organically as we had one more coach to talk about, but here we are. I was just going to mention one more because you led into it earlier, and I have to stick with it, is Bruce Arians saying that Ronald Jones is lead back. And there was a nice little tagline that JG provided in our chat. I was going to let you go ahead and say it. What your response to that was?
I don't remember.
Wait, his response or my response?
LOL, okay, Bruce. Whoever said that. Sorry, I thought
yeah. This whole thing that Bruce Arians is some kind of liar.
Did I say
Where
that?
did it even come from? Where did it even come from? The guy told us that they were going after Tom Brady, and they got Tom Brady. And remember, people were like, oh, Tom Brady's not choosing them. Bruce Arians, he's all in on Jameis Winston. He tried telling you guys. You should listen to Bruce Arians, and he's telling you right now, Ronald Jones is the guy. Ronald Jones, he can catch passes. There's this narrative out there that he's not a big pass catcher. Well, I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe guys should watch some tape instead of just spouting off at the mouth. He can catch passes. He can run between the tackles. He's got speed. He's got strength. And he's going to go all the way. And you are talking about a RB1 down in Tampa. And you know me. I was all big on some Keyshawn Vaughn. But before the draft, I was kind of out on Keyshawn. And then I was like, oh, he landed in Tampa. That's a really good one, Tom Brady. But Tom Brady has been practicing with Ronald Jones. He hasn't been practicing with COVID-riddled Keyshawn Vaughn.
He's off the list. He's off the list.
But he wasn't, so he missed valuable practice time.
No, he
with
missed
his disease,
non-valuable
this diseased running back.
Wait. Conditioning time.
Weren't you the one last week that was saying you shouldn't have concerns about running backs missing for the COVID?
Yeah, you shouldn't have concerns about that running back because you got Ronald Jones to go with.
All right. The thing with Ronald Jones is that he's just not that good. was
I
not.
threw away my notes because I cleaned my office, but I had notes that told you otherwise last week. So go listen to last week's episode.
You should do that. But the only thing for me is that just like Ronald Jones is like, blah, no, thank you. Ronald Jones, maybe Bruce Arians, Bruce Arians may think right now that Ronald Jones is his guy, or maybe Bruce Arians is just like, hey, I'm going to get some confidence going in my running back, Ronald Jones, like make him feel like he's doing things well, and that way maybe he'll come with the confident edge to practice, and so maybe he's just saying some bullshit that doesn't matter. But I think that Ronald Jones isn't that good regardless. So if Bruce Arians tries to make Ronald Jones the guy, he's going to be like, wait a second, we can't do this.
Listen to this clip by James Palmer, and let me tell you why, after the clip, Ronald Jones is the guy.
He really does, Andrew. And there was some thought this offseason how the carries were going to be divided between Ronald Jones, and then they get Keyshawn Vaughn in the 3rd round out of Vanderbilt, and then last Monday they bring in LaShawn McCoy, but Arians has made it abundantly clear. It is Ronald Jones.
They just signed LaShawn McCoy. They're not going to give the ball to
Who gives
Ronald
a shit
Jones.
about LaShawn? Okay, that's what everybody said about Damien Williams last year.
That's what everyone said about Peyton Barber.
Wait, wasn't
last
LaShawn
year.
McCoy on the Chiefs last year?
Yeah.
What did that?
really
This
fucking
seem-
matter.
feels like the same situation for him.
Yeah, he's just trying to ride the coattails of the
a year
team.
ago in New England.
I'm not going to play this
Jones is
whole
pretty
clip.
good
It's a
at it.
minute
He averaged
25.
10 yards
Well,
a
don't play the whole
catch
clip,
last year,
but
only
do
had
you
31
even want to hear
catches.
what he
So did
says?
do? He spent a lot of time with
I'm
Brady this
listening.
offseason building some chemistry. A lot of time on his own, working on different angles he catches the football. Don't
Oh,
let
I'm
it
gonna
get
tell
into
you.
his
I just
chest.
won't react.
Brady has worked with him as well, telling him he needs to stay lower in his routes.
Well, I'm hoping
run
the
like he
video
has
is
the
just up
football,
on the
be more
screen.
explosive after
Yeah.
he
That way we
catches
don't
it.
have to
Jones has also
they won't
looked about
see
how
us.
he reads defenses, Andrew, pre-snap, whether it's zone or man, so he can find different holes in it. And then this is where LaShawn McCoy plays a role as well. He has taken upon himself to talk to Brady about what he wants out of these running backs catching the football. He's talked to some former running backs that have played with Brady, and all of this comes together because if the running back is not just a check down, the Bucs believe if they're important in the passing game, Andrew, it changes everything.
forgot the
Okay,
wide
that clip
receiver.
taught me nothing. It just said that Ronald Jones is like trying to study some shit. Well, Ronald Jones has bad vision as a running back, which tells me that he's not good at studying that kind of shit. So I'm
What?
not into
Ronald Jones, it tells you that he's been practicing with Tom Brady and building chemistry, and Tom Brady passes 120 passes towards his running back, and he can catch. What are you talking about? What are you?
This
When you even
Out
listen
on
to the right
Ronald Jones experiment. I am not in on it. I don't want any part of
He's
Ronald
like an
Jones.
8th round running back or something like that. Buy
Here's
him
how
up.
I feel. I would
Buy him
rather
up.
miss Ronald Jones being good than draft him and he's terrible. And I think that the latter is more likely. So no
Wow.
thanks. Goodbye, Ronald Jones. Off my lineup. You can draft him though. You should
Let me
draft
tell
him.
you something. I got something to etch in some stone. Ronald Jones will finish as a top 20 RB.
No.
And he will finish higher than James White 100%.
Are we getting a double bubble here, boys?
A double bubble on the brick.
Okay, so what if he finishes as
I'm
RB20?
hopscotching.
What if he finishes as RB21 and James White is still a top 30 running back?
I think
Well,
you
then
could
I
have-
win one. I
Okay,
win
so this
one
is two
and-
separate bets. It's not like a
it's
parlay.
two separate bets. Yeah. I'm not parlaying. I'm just saying that, not only is he going to beat James. Well, no, you know what? Let's throw it all in. Fuck it.
Parlay it, baby.
Do it live. I'm going to parlay these bricks. I'm going to take these 2 bricks. I'm going to get some mortar and I'm going to put them together.
Build a wall.
And I'm building a wall around me and Ronald Jones. And we are going to hug when he becomes a top 20 running back and he beats James White.
All right.
But does James White still have to finish top?
30? Yes.
Well,
that's
then
a
no,
separate
we'll still
bet.
keep the James White the
Okay.
separate bet. But I'm building my own separate pizza oven.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
See, the only problem with this is like Ronald Jones could easily finish higher than James White, but I'm
Oh, I thought he sucked.
out on Ronald Jones, so I'll take.
you
the
wanna
bet.
say-
Let's do it.
so
Let's
do you wanna
do
say-
it. Let's
okay.
do it, baby.
all right, so lock
That's
it
a
in.
good one because I got some really shitty bets that we counted that I didn't know we
I
were
don't know
going
if
to
we
count.
counted those. And somebody
okay.
added to the spreadsheet something about me betting that Joe Burrow would have at least 4 games.
That's what
of
you
4
said.
points
That's what
or
you
less.
said.
I did not say that, and I certainly did not set it in stone, bet it.
Unfortunately,
Well,
who
you
has the
definitely said it.
I said that he
definitely
would
said
have a hand. I might have said 4 games. Okay.
All right, hold
but
on.
I didn't say
No.
at least 4 games, and I didn't say
So talk
4
about your past
points or
mistake.
less. So I don't
You
know
are
who added
locking
that to the
in.
spreadsheet.
Ronald Jones finishing higher than James White.
Yeah. Not only this is one bet that has nothing to do with the James White bet that I'm already winning with Graver. It's the Ronald Jones bet. If we're going to call it the Ronald Jones Walk of Fame. So we got one handprint for in the cement, wet cement for top 20 running back.
Okay.
Another handprint in the wet cement for beating James White.
So
That
if
means
he finished
one stone.
19th, but James White finishes 18th,
Then I lost the bet.
you lost. All right. So
I'm not worried about that. Like James
Are you
White.
locking that in?
It's locked in. It's actually
locked in
already-
on your part.
the
I want to
cement-
get confirmation.
Oh, the cement's
I-
dried.
Yeah, the mortar's already dry, the brick's in place, so if we wanted to like run through a brick wall, this would be a good opportunity, but the bet would still stand actually.
Yeah.
All right. So locking that in. But
It's
it's
the
just,
foundation of my house.
I do think it's funny though that those early recordings we were talking about Tampa Bay pretty early on and how we were questioning some of that, and now we're a little more bullied the last couple of weeks. We're talking about maybe liking
Fantasy
some things
fever,
about-
baby, taking over.
It's fantasy, you know.
Well, I'm
don't
still out
question.
on the Bucks, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, but they've been coming up as there's not maybe as many questions here leading forward, so we'll see. But speaking of questions, we did reach out on Twitter. We did reach out to our fans. Got to think of a nickname for our Flex followers here. Flex myself here. There we go. And something to call them.
Flexins?
Flexites.
Flex people?
Flexions?
Flexites. I don't know, flexions. But we did ask for your flexions.
Flexites?
We got tons of them.
Fleeple?
We only picked
Fleeple?
so many.
Hey,
we
we'll
got
take
so
this
many-
offline.
Listen, we got
Let's
so
park 'em
many
up.
questions. We only picked what 6 or 7 of them out of the many
think we
questions.
got
Oh, we got
6
millions of
coming.
questions. Yeah, we're gonna pick
Yeah, we only got 6
6
out
or
of
7.
the.
Yeah, exactly.
At least we got like 25 questions.
We got at least
Right.
1 million questions submitted. Actually.
So
At least.
it was a
Via
great tag.
Twitter and email. Zach
Yeah.
at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. A couple from Truly.
It's right there.
Yep. A couple over the SOS line or whatever you call it, Morse code. Yeah, we got them all in.
Last truly, we better end this quick.
Great, great tag by JG. The flexions. We had some great questions. We're going to start. And let me just say this before we if I get your name wrong or if I mispronounce it, I apologize. I can't even say my own name. Or
Get a
host.
better name, honestly.
Yeah. To be fair, Raheem Mustard is the worst fucking last name. What's that last name? I've never heard it before.
Well, I had heard it a bunch of times and I still screwed it up. So what does that say about me? Anyway, moving to our first question from Kenneth Goit. I hope. At Kenneth Goit. What would you trade AGB away for in a Superflex PPR dynasty? And Superflex, to my understanding, is where you can use one of the flex spots for the second quarterback.
Yes, and by
Interesting.
AJB, I assume he means AJ Brown. And in a Superflex dynasty, in a
PPR
dynasty league,
dy-
to me, wide receivers are king, especially young wide receivers, especially second-year wide receivers who have already like broken out on every statistical metric. So it would take a lot for me to trade AJ Brown. I know he's not in a pass-heavy offense, but he produced 1,000 yards last year in a not pass-heavy offense. So I don't know if he needs to be in a pass-heavy offense. So to me, it would take like a bona fide what you think AJ Brown could develop into for me to give up, because you're giving up years that you have that development. Whereas if you trade for an established guy, obviously, you don't have him for as long.
So I guess how many rounds or typically a dynasty league?
Well,
Let's just
it
go
depends on the league, but
10 to 12. It's just somewhere in there.
In my league of record, we're a keeper league based on draft pick value, right? Wherever you drafted them, you get that pick for the next year. If you keep them, you have to give that pick up, right? So Mr. Lebowski and Mike Herndon, Mike Miracles, both are part of this league. And Lebowski traded his 4th round pick to Mike Herndon for AJ Brown and Mike's 8th round pick. Now, AJ Brown is the 15th round keeper. What do you guys think of that good value? Is that good value, bad value? Is that too much to give up to AJ Brown in a non-dynasty league, even though he can keep him for the 15th round pick this year?
Good
the
spot to keep.
7th round pick next year, and then the 3rd round pick the year 4, and then year 5 he'd be a 1st round pick.
I think it really depends on, obviously we're high on A.J. Brown and what he could be in the Titans quarterback situation moving forward. Feels like they've got the right pieces there, at least for the next few years. Those are some good draft spots to have a guy, if you think he's going to be a high caliber player, that's a good spot to have someone like that in the 15th and the 7th round, especially. Now, 3rd round, I still think it's got some decent value. So that's 3 years of value.
3 years from now, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's
easily. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that you're still getting a high value out of that pick 3 years later. So that's just the gift that keeps on giving to me.
So,
And
Kenneth,
the
in
thing
a
is-
standard round, a 4th round pick is what you should trade him away for. Now, if you only have like 4 rounds, right? So
I would
in a
require
dynasty
more than
draft?
a 4. I would require more than a 4th round pick.
Yeah, in
I
a
think-
dynasty draft, you would want like higher, right? I mean, I
Oh,
assume
there-
dynasty
yeah.
draft is only like a few rounds. It's
Because most-
considerably less, I believe.
Yeah, most of the teams already exist. Like I don't even
We're-
know if he. They
We're
might not
doing
have a
our
draft.
first dynasty football league this year because we realize that we don't know a lot. But I
They
think
might not have a
dynasty
draft.
Is
They-
like
No, they might just be rookies.
7 or 8 rounds. It's literally
Well,
rookie.
but it's just rookies though. So
Yeah.
that draft has possibly already happened, possibly not already happened. I think he might even be asking trade wise about players you'd trade AJ Brown for.
Oh, is that what he's saying? Read the question one more time by Clutch Kenneth.
Kenneth Goit, what would you trade AJB away for in a Superflex PPR dynasty?
I would trade him for a RB1 of probably like of Todd Gurley stature, and then a wide receiver like Robert Woods. I mean, like if you got
Really?
Robert Woods and Todd Gurley, and the reason maybe
Oh,
Cooper
you mean
Kupp.
both?
Yeah, you get both. Like
Okay.
you should be able to get both in a dynasty league for AJ Brown. Now, if
Agreed.
you wanted to the reason being is because Todd Gurley's still relatively young, but he's a running back, right? So
I wouldn't
know
want
you're at
Todd
least
Gurley,
getting-
by the way.
But I'm just saying of his caliber. So it's
Yeah,
like an
so
RB.
let's take this
That's
as
a borderline
at level.
RB2, RB1, right?
Yeah, okay.
Robert Woods is a border RB2, RB1. You should get 2
Wide receiver, yeah.
players that wide receiver, sorry. You should get 2 players that equal out to what AJ Brown's value and projection will be. And those
Sure.
would be 2 guys that they're kind of guys that fly under the radar, but they are going to get you a lot of points, and probably your point total will make up for AJ Brown being gone.
especially when you consider the value that AJ. I'm imagining that they're in the same situation if they had the same thing with the picks and the staggering, that they probably got him fairly late last year too. So I mean that's going to be some value moving forward. So it's more than just the player's points; it's what you can get by not having to take him so early. So
I agree. We should have clarified, though. So this is a good learning experience. We should have hopped in those mentions and clarified a little bit more from Clutch Kenneth.
True.
that's a good point.
Our bad.
Because that's our bad. That's our bad.
Well, you know,
And he did provide good detail, but we kind of need to know, is this pre-draft, post-draft? What's your current roster looking like?
That's a good point. So, Kenneth, if we didn't answer this, like hit that same question up,
Hit it
clarify, and we will get back to you on the Twitter on that specific question. We'll respond. Someone, I'm not sure, one of the 3 heads from the Flex will respond. So,
Sure.
moving.
No, Greenlaw's in Ireland.
He's right
Yeah.
there.
He's right over there.
I was just thinking who had never. Anyway, moving on. So the next question comes in from the Brody, and I'm going to butcher this at Bigger Eed 24 Eric, BIGER EAD 24
Yeah.
Eric.
You nailed it.
Whatever. I like having a solid tight end on my roster, especially in a 12-team league.
Yeah, you do.
For their value, would you recommend taking Ertz, Andrews, or Waller? So to clarify, I think he's asking between the 3, who would be your one if you want to rank them? Would you take Waller at the 3rd slot, then Ertz, then Andrews? Like how would you like? What's
Well, they're going the inverse order. They have he's asking about the current ADP statuses of tight ends 3, 4, and 5. Zach Ertz number 3, Mark Andrews number 4, Darren Waller number 5. Now Ertz and Andrews are going pretty close together. 37 overall for Ertz, 43 overall for Andrews, so about 4th round. End of the 3rd, 4th round. And then Waller's going about a round later, 5th round for Darren Waller. So for that value, I would probably lean towards Zach Ertz in terms of a confidence and value standpoint. Like, I just think the wide receiver position is so deep this year that if you wanted to spend your third round pick on a tight end, you could. Between those three guys, I'm most confident that Ertz will be a stud. I don't like spending that early of a pick on tight end, but I have found myself in leagues where I go like running back, wide receiver in a mock draft, and I'm sitting there in the third round, and the running back options are so bare that I'm like, I'll just take the best tight end because there's only like 5 good tight ends anyway, and if you get one of those top 5, then you're going to be in a good position every week. Whereas if you're trying to like stream tight ends, or you're just worrying about it every week, and sometimes it's nice to like get a guy that you can be confident in. So I'd probably go Ertz based on just from those 3 guys. Now, overall, I'm waiting, but in terms of those 3 guys, I'm going Ertz.
Yeah, in terms of those 3 guys, you're completely wrong. And Ertz is a complete overreach. You want to go Darren Waller. And here's why. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If it's Marcus, it doesn't matter. If it's Derek Carr, it doesn't matter, because we've already seen what Derek Carr makes Darren Waller, or Darren Waller makes Derek Carr, vice versa. Either way, they have chemistry, right? We know that Delaney Walker and Marcus had really excellent chemistry. Now we have Marcus with Darren Waller, DW, just there. And we know he just targets his tight ends. He can't throw deep. He's a dead arm quarterback. And, it just doesn't matter who's back there behind center. It's going to be Darren Waller. He's 6th round. Who drafting a tight end in the 3rd round, especially Zach Ertz with
54 overall is not 6th round.
Well, that's what you said 6th round.
I said 5th round.
Oh, did you say 5th? It sounded like 6 over here. Sounded like 6. Hello?
You're good. You're
5th?
good.
Okay.
What about all the weapons that have been added to Oakland's passing attack?
Are you talking about the
last year?
Weapons?
Well, the rookies and the Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs.
Rookies. It doesn't really matter. It just doesn't matter.
Here's my perspective on that. Is that
what about
Darren
all
Waller,
that they have?
Well, that's
Eagles.
true too. But here's my perspective: is that that's true. Zach Ertz was not challenged as much when all the Eagles receivers went down last year, and they have new guys this year. But a couple of guys opted out for the Eagles wide receivers. But I'm afraid that Darren Waller had a career year last year. He was above what was expected, and he's going to regress a little bit down. Zach Ertz, in terms of his career expectations, had a bit of a down year last year and could therefore bounce back a little bit. Aggress to the mean. And I think that for that reason, I would bet more on the Zach Ertz bounce back. But I don't hate Darren Waller either. I think Darren Waller is a fine choice. My confidence level would be higher in Zach Ertz. We don't have to spend that much time on this. But
who's the backup quarterback on the Eagles?
I don't know, Nate Sudfeld maybe.
Oh, yeah.
No idea.
Well, I don't know. Maybe meet in the middle. Mark Andrews is probably
he's decent value too.
Perfect guy, because Hayden Hurst is gone. I don't even know who their second tight end is. Maybe that's the one. Yeah, but true. I'm going Darren Waller.
Yeah, Andrews may be the most reliable member of the Ravens passing game.
We've said that we're tabbing Jonnu Smith as having a breakout year, so I think everyone here is targeting him. So it's kind of hard for me to think about any other tight ends, even though I need to, because if I'm in drafts with y'all, someone's going to get him before I do, or someone's going to reach just so they can have him. And I'm not going to hate it because he's going to have a breakout. But I think I agree.
If you're mandatory tight end and those are the 3 you're targeting, fuck those 3 guys and go Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm. Or a lot of other guys, Ian Thomas. Or Blake Jarwin, Eric Ebron. I don't know. Hayden Hurst.
They're all horrible names. These are where you're going?
Hayden Hurst, Austin Hooper, Noah Fant. I'm just.
I don't think Disley's horrible if he's healthy.
Disley appears to be healthy, according to the latest reports. Well, Blake Jarwin's a guy I'm taking a shot on and putting my bench and see if he pops. I don't know.
So anyway, that answers the tight end question of those 3. I think that there's some good. Hopefully, Brody, you're able to get some stuff, and it could be at Big E Reed. Whatever. Correct me later on Twitter. I'd appreciate that, because now I'm worried about it. Our next question comes from Jamal at Jamalisms. Which is a bigger waste of space, DST kicker or Jamal? Well, I'm going to handle this one, guys. Clearly Jamal. Let's move on. Moving on to our next question. Love you, Jamal. Yeah. Nikhil Gupta at Nikhil _G14. based on what happened in the playoffs last season, who would you rather have at QB in life and fantasy this upcoming season, Lamar Jackson or Ryan Tannehill? Tannehill.
In life and in fantasy.
So I don't mind that question. I think it's a really good question. But hopefully he won't get Nikhil won't get mad at us here. Can we keep it to fantasy only so we can get to some of the other questions? Because I think that's a whole different question. I like it.
Fantasy football's life, so it's the same for me. I love Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
But I'm going Lamar Miller.
Lamar Miller.
I know that he chokes in the playoffs.
You just called him Lamar Miller. Can we point that out?
Oh, yeah, sorry. What did I say? Lamar Jackson. Sorry, thinking running backs. Anyway, Lamar Jackson.
That's a dig.
Oh, come on now.
Lamar
That's
Jackson.
That's Tannehill right there. Maybe.
Yeah. I will say that Lamar Jackson is not going to repeat what he did last year, but still in the regular season, as a football fan, was pretty fun to watch, right? You know he's going to be fun to watch. You know that he's also going to put up fantasy points while he's fun to watch in real life. That is the guy that you would take for both fantasy and real life. Because when he gets in the playoffs, sure, he's going to break your heart because he's going to choke and he's going to get sacked and throw interceptions and fumble because he sucks in the playoffs. But so did Peyton. Just saying, Lamar Jackson, you got to take the good with the bad. I'll win some fantasy championships and still see my team get to the playoffs and just be heartbroken rather than the volatile high risk of, yes, Ryan Tannehill's really good and he's fun to watch, but what if some shit happens with the Titans and they may not make it in the playoffs? Like the Ravens are going to make it in the playoffs because Lamar Jackson has just proven that he's going to take it.
You look like you sound like a fan that's been burned before.
Just saying.
I will say
if
that
you're on the
in real
YouTube,
life.
if you're on the YouTube, it also looks like so.
Oh yeah, I've been beaten.
So I will say this: Tannehill's my dude. I love that he's a Titan. I love that the chemistry this offense is going to be having. We've talked about it on Coach's Quarter. If you want to go check out some of those episodes, shameless plug.
I do. Where can I find those episodes?
They are on Spotify, on iTunes, Coach's Corner.
Right now.
Check it out. So rate us, all that good stuff. But anyway, we talked about how Ryan Tannehill just might have found his fit. And there's a lot to be said about that. And I don't want to, you always remember your latest memory, right? So we're a little guilty with both these guys because neither one had what I would call stellar playoffs. Obviously, Lamar Jackson was terrible in his one game. Ryan Tannehill was used less than he was in the regular season because they had a different mindset. They were trying against those teams. But I will say when he had to make throws, he still made big throws in those games. And there's going to be some regression from Ryan Tannehill more than likely just based on career and all that. But if it's in a good spot where he can continue, he's still a guy that if you're asking me to pick between the two, Lamar Jackson, but I'm also targeting Tannehill at a certain spot where I can maybe take other positions because I think Tannehill season average wise, maybe within 3, 4, 5 points of Lamar Jackson average wise. And to me, I'm willing to wait on Tannehill and still get those consistent points.
Yeah, to me, it's about what team are these players being taken onto. Like, are you just starting a brand new, fresh team in the NFL that has to be competitive for 10 plus years? Is it based on age? Are you picking these guys for one game? Are you bringing Lamar Jackson's offensive coordinator? Is Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh coming to make sure John Harbaugh, whichever, I don't honestly even know which one is which. Jim Harbaugh coming to, is that right? Yeah, it's Jim. Jim's in Baltimore. Coming to, correction will be on the YouTube. Coming to, with Lamar if you pick Lamar, or are you putting Lamar on the current whatever team?
That's a good those are good questions to ask, and those are good questions you should have asked in the Twitter.
Yeah, sorry, Nikhil, I failed you. But here's the thing: is
Harry.
No, Nikhil, what was it? Gupta?
Oh, I thought it was Nikhil Harry.
The thing is, when you so ultimately, I think that you kind of just have to accept that you'll adjust the scheme, right? And if you are going to adjust the scheme, whatever, then Ryan Tannehill's also in the perfect scheme fit for him now too. I mean, leading the league in yards per attempt, leading the league in passer rating. He's probably not going to do that again, but Lamar Jackson's not going to lead the league in passing or passing touchdowns while only throwing the third amount, I think third fewest pass attempts for qualified quarterbacks, while leading the league in passing touchdowns. That's a crazy thing. He's going to regress too. So both guys are going to regress. Based on their age and everything, you probably have to take Lamar Jackson. But for one game in the play, for the Super Bowl, who am I taking? I might choose Tannehill based on.
I think you're right there. I mean, I think you're right. If you go to the Super Bowl, you got to take Tannehill. Maybe there's layers to this, and I agree.
Yeah.
There's layers to it.
He's the veteran.
I tried to narrow down these layers before we started.
Actually won a playoff game, unlike Lamar Jackson. So I don't know. That's probably why.
It's definitely a good question. I'm glad I asked. And lessons learned here is we'll ask some clarifying questions the next time that we do this and have some participation. But moving on, because I think that answers the question beautifully. Thank you, boys. Moving on to Juan Pablo Haro, at Juan Pablo Haro, with the 9th pick in a 10-team non-PPR league. Who should be my first pick? So I don't really care about the I get where he's going with the 10-team, but let's look at this as the 9th pick in a non-PPR league. Who would you be taking?
So first of all, we have to establish who's on the board. So I'm just going to say the top 8 guys according to current ADP are gone. That would be
I think you have to. There's no other way to predict it.
Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams. First off, any of those guys, if they fall, must drafts, or all of them must drafts, or is there anyone that if they fall, you're passing on?
I don't think so.
I think I'm drafting any of those guys if they fall to that spot for sure.
If any of those guys are there at 9, that's who you take. Now, moving forward, ADP list has Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones next at the wide receiver, and then Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb at running back, Kenyon Drake at running back, Travis Kelce is up there. I probably would not take
10-team does matter because he gets to have that revolving door right there after it to have that technically the 11th pick as well.
Personally, I'm going running back, because every time I get to the 3rd round of a mock draft, I am not digging the running back options anymore. And I love DeAndre Hopkins and I love Tyreek Hill. I think they're going to have huge seasons. But I think there are going to be a ton of receivers that have good seasons, and that your wide receiver 25 isn't going to be that far behind your wide receiver 15, who isn't going to be that far behind your wide receiver 5. So I feel like that's going to be a bunch that you can draft later. For that reason, at 9, I'm looking at going potentially Nick Chubb, Kenyon Drake with those 2 picks, or something like that.
Here's what I would do. I would draft Tyreek Hill, then on the turn draft Kenyon Drake. Stay away from Nick Chubb. He does not catch the ball a lot and all that kind of stuff. If you're in a PP, if you're a PP, this is PPR and it's
non-PPR.
Non-PPR.
Oh, it's non-PPR?
Yeah, that's what this question was specifically.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at it because I missed the question. I just totally skipped over the non. Man, this is a big mistake episode for me. And I'd like to apologize to all my fans who have written to me over the last few weeks saying that I have been very reliable and never made a mistake. So,
bit of a humbling experience.
It has been. And, I'll do better and make sure that I never make a mistake ever again after this episode.
See, this is still him correcting before the sentence is over, so I'm not – I feel
confident. No, I admitted my mistakes.
Exactly. You're fine.
I apologized.
Hey, we're all
on behalf of all your fans, as your biggest fan,
thank you.
Apology accepted.
Yep. You look cute tonight. Anyway,
thank you.
So non-PPR, then you go. If it's non-PPR, no doubt, Nick Chubb, Kenyon Drake. Who with the other running backs on the board?
Miles Sanders that high is maybe, and then Austin Eckler. Oh, Joe Mixon. We missed Joe Mixon. I might.
Yeah, I think I would go. I think I'd
Joe
go
Mixon.
with Yeah, you could go Joe Mixon or the other guys, but you definitely go Nick Chubb. If he is there in a non-PPR at number 9, take it to the bank, put it in the wall.
Do you guys think it matters that I read off the list of the top 8 PPR
Yeah, it
position
definitely
there.
Yeah, it definitely matters. I thought it's fairly clear that I said non-PPR because I was going to follow up and say, does
No,
that
you
change?
did, but
What is your
To
spot
be
change for
fair,
PPR?
I kind of zoned out, so that's
Yeah.
why I went and looked for the tweet, and then I
Oh,
still
love with your
didn't read the
background
tweet
there.
correctly.
to be double fair, the options did not change. The order changed slightly, so we're all good.
Yeah,
Yeah, but so your point, if one of those guys falls, you're running up to the podium and turning your card in a heartbeat.
What wide
Might
receivers
take Nick
win?
Chubb over who's there. Who would be falling?
Who it would be the top 8?
Top
Run through
8
the top 8
didn't,
real quick.
didn't change. Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Michael Thomas, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams.
Okay, I would take I would take Nick Chubb over Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, and Dalvin Cook.
Fair. And in this sorting, Joe Mixon is 9. I would take Nick Chubb over Joe Mixon as well.
Yes.
And
correct.
Josh Jacobs jumped up a lot. He's now 11. I'm probably taking.
Yep.
Actually, it's crazy how far Kenyon Drake fell. Kenyon Drake falls to 22. Dude,
He's-
Kenyon
he's
Drake
those
is
pass
still going to
catchers.
be. Yeah, well, he's still going to be a good running back regardless
yeah.
of how many passes. Kenyon
That
Drake's a
offense
steal.
I mean, we talked about we want a
22.
part of that offense regardless if it's Hopkins or
Right.
what's going on out there in the desert. It's going to be a fun show. So
In a 10-team league, 22 is third round. If you can get Kenyon Drake in the third round, you are winning.
Yeah.
I think that answers the next. The next few things here. Just kind of move along here because we had an interesting one from Crick337 at Christian R08. Russell Wilson in the 8th or Stafford in the 11th?
Russell
Standard.
Wilson in the 8th. All day long. Stafford in the 11th is a little too high. I feel like for a quarterback of Stafford's volatility. Ooh, that's a good
What's
word.
interesting is Stafford's my guy.
Yeah.
But I agree, though. Russell Wilson in the
So
8th.
we're going to that scenario. Russell Wilson in the 8th. That was a quick one.
Russell Wilson in the 8th is such good value that you will see. It's one of those rare things that like Mahomes in like the 3rd or whatever is still really good, right? Lamar Jackson the 4th, whatever it is, whatever their ADPs are, you're gonna get points out of them, but your overall team benefits with Russell Wilson in the 8th.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I agree.
Last pick question, and before we move on to our couple rapid fire from a friend, Shane Prinda at PS Prinda writes, at the 5th spot in my league, should I take Henry or Cook, non-PPR?
No
Henry.
question in my mind.
No question, right?
I mean, this is as unbiased as I possibly can be. I'm taking Henry every day. I've already said this once on a podcast. I think the Vikings are an offensive candidate to need to throw more. I think that Derrick Henry his schedule is. I mean, the Titans have the 2nd easiest schedule according to win total projections, not according to like last year's winning percentages, but according to win total projections, which have proven to be a little bit more predictable in terms of accuracy. Titans have the 2nd easiest schedule in that regard, so that means that game scripts could favor Derrick Henry, and I think more than any team in the league, the Titans are a game script dependent fantasy offense. When the Titans are winning, Henry's gonna have a good fantasy game. When the Titans are losing, probably not. So the more games the Titans are gonna be winning, the more Derrick Henry's gonna be worth the pick. And I think that when you get to number 5, it's either Henry, Cook, or a receiver. And I just talked about why I want to take a running back there. I'm not taking Cook because I think he's a much bigger injury risk, and he's just like the Vikings offense. I would take the Titans offense over the Vikings offense.
Real quick, does that change in PPR?
No.
You're still taking Henry?
I mean, how many more points is Dalvin Cook going to get out of catching the ball?
Well, in a PPR, 1 full point per reception.
Yeah, okay. How many is that? Over the course
I
of the
don't
season?
know.
20?
My biggest thing about Cook is that he's injury prone, and is he going to play when it comes down to it when the regular season starts and all this kind of stuff? What's the holdout
there.
going to consist
He's
of?
practicing.
He's there now, but the CBA is kind of tricky. You can get around. There's a little bit of loopholes, but I don't know. Something about Cook in Minnesota this year has really turned me away from it. And especially if you're in non-PPR, there is no reason that you should be even debating it should be, if you're at the 5th pick and Derrick Henry is still there, turn it in. Have you seen the workout videos? Have you seen how this offense is built? This offense is built to give Derrick Henry the ball, to bully the other team all the way down the field. No doubt, Derrick Henry, non-PPR, don't even think about it. Don't overthink it. This is a perfect case of overthinking the draft pick at a draft spot.
And also, if you're a Titans fan, you're going to have so much more fun this whole season.
Oh, for
owning
sure.
Henry
Yeah, I always love that.
owning Cook. Yeah, especially
And
because the
Henry's
Vikings play the Titans this year. You don't want to have Dalvin Cook.
And Henry's one of those guys where his talent matches the opportunity of the team he's with. And you've got to love that combination and how the Titans look to attack a defense and what his skill set is. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're high on Derrick Henry there. So let's move on to our last question set coming in from James $$ at South Texan Titan. Let's do these rapid fire. He's got quite a few of them. We'll kind of go quickly if y'all don't mind. Will TJ Hawkinson be a tight end 1 this year?
No.
Okay. Better second year, A.J. Brown or Terry McLaurin?
Are you stupid? A.J. Brown.
Will the Niners...
James.
James. Will the Niners offense fall flat this year?
No.
Yes, compared to last year.
Okay. But does that mean they're going to fall flat? Because even if they're not as good as last year, doesn't mean they're technically going to fall flat.
Really, he should have specified what he's going to try to say. Maybe he should quit asking so many questions in one tweet.
Yeah. I appreciate the enthusiasm, though. Here's a good one for the Titans fan, though. Derrick Henry, boom or bust first half of the season? Because December happens.
I think this
It's a
is
good question, but it's a legit question.
I think this is Derrick Henry's best first 8 games he's ever played in his career.
I fucking agree. Take
Let's
that to
go,
the bank,
baby.
James.
I'm not going to do the sound effect for that one, but I'm glad y'all agree finally this episode. That's fantastic. And his last and probably most important question to him is, why doesn't the flex follow me? Well, James, I've got some good news for you, buddy. It follows you now. So congratulations.
Oh. And going forward, anyone who asks a question will get followed automatically.
Well, since you said that, you can go ahead and do that. Make sure you keep up with that.
I'll keep up until
That is truly a win.
until it becomes too much to care for. That will be a call, and I will announce the end of it on this show. So make sure you listen.
Well, that's something to look forward to for the fans, but that's going to do it for us this week. Remember to be sure and check out all the other podcasts and articles that Broadway Sports has to offer at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Follow on Twitter at BroadwayTN and the show at Flex on Broadway. Follow Zach at FWordsPod, JG at Titans Film Room. Please follow our vacationing back with us soon co-host Greenlaw at Rob on Broadway. Remember to follow Broadway on Facebook and Instagram as well. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate 10 stars. Don't worry, that math does work out before you log out of the app. So until next time, we out.
Boom. Booyah. All you gotta do is go to the app, hit 5 stars, double click, close the app, go back to the app, hit 5 stars again. Boom. Done.
The math works. Like I said, the math works out.
Math is
Even I can do that.
It's actually the only way to do it, short of giving us 2 stars 5 times or 1 star 10 times. And those are not really good options. Don't do that.
Do you think we'll get sponsored by Truly? If not, I mean, it may just be me. I just want you guys to know it just may be me.
I do love. Please tell me that you came up with that background while we were sitting here live doing
Yeah,
this.
dude, I made it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we were talking about, but I made
And you wonder why you can't pay attention to some of the little details like PPR versus non-PPR.
That's because I can't read.
A Broadway Sports Media production.